Chief Red Cloud was an Oglala Lakota leader who famously forced the U.S. Army to abandon its forts on the Bozeman Trail, an effort called Red Cloud's War. After the 1868 treaty, he continued to represent his people. He moved to the Pine Ridge Reservation and even journeyed to Washington, D.C. to publicize Sioux. His bravery and diplomacy earned him national notice. Red Cloud remained a powerful voice for his people until his death in 1909. His legacy endures as a symbol of Native American resistance and leadership. Chief American Horse was an Oglala Lakota chief and statesman noted for his diplomacy and advocacy. He promoted friendly relations with Americans and encouraged education for his people. For example, he joined Buffalo Bill's Wild West show and supported the Carlisle Indian School to help Native youth. He opposed the Ghost Dance of 1890 and served as a Lakota delegate in Washington, pressing for cooperation and understanding. His eloquence and consistency made him a respected voice among the Oglala, guiding his nation through the difficult post-war era. Charging Thunder was a member of the Sioux Nation and a performer in Buffalo Bill's Wild West show during the early 1900s. Photographed by Gertrude Casimir in 1900, his dignified portrait shows him wearing a full feathered headdress and traditional attire. His participation in the show reflected a time when Native culture was often displayed as spectacle. Yet Charging Thunder carried himself with pride. Though his personal history remains mostly undocumented, this striking image preserves the face of a man who walked the line between cultural representation and public entertainment in a changing America. Chief Spotted Eagle was a Yanktonai Dakota leader who resisted U.S. expansion. In October 1880, he surrendered at Fort Keogh with about 495 people. By mid-1881, his band, roughly 402 people, had been moved from Standing Rock to the Cheyenne River Reservation. His group was among the last to lay down arms after the Great Sioux War. Photographers captured him as an Omaha Indian Congress delegate, a proud symbol of Arapaho Dakota endurance during that turbulent era. Louie was a son of Hunkpapa Lakota Chief Sitting Bull. Sitting Bull famously led the Sioux victory at Little Bighorn in 1876. Louie came of age during the difficult reservation period that followed those wars. Photographed by D.F. Barry in the 1880s, Louie wears traditional Sioux regalia, a silent testament to his heritage. Though little is recorded about his life, Louie's proud bearing in the portrait suggests the enduring spirit of the Lakota carried on through the next generation. Sitting Bull's son still speaks volumes for his people. Brings Down the Sun was an elder of the Piikani, Blackfeet tribe in Montana, photographed around 1909. Walter McClintock described him as an old chief who refused to share all his sacred knowledge, yet generously offered visitors wild berries. He was commended for urging his people to protect nature, preaching the preservation of trees and berries against waste. Little else is documented about his life, making this portrait a key record of the wisdom and dignity of a respected Blackfeet leader. Big Mouth Spring was a member of the Apsaluk, Crow Nation, captured in Edward S. Curtis's early 20th century portrait work. Curtis photographed over 40,000 Native Americans during his career, including many Crow. The Crow historically roamed the Big Horn Mountains region and were famed horsemen and bead workers. In the photo, Big Mouth Spring wears a beaded buckskin shirt and eagle feather, suggesting his status as a warrior or leader. Though little is known of his personal story, the image preserves the pride and artistry of Crow tribal culture for posterity. Chiefchild was a leader of the Apsailuk, Crow Nation, photographed by Edward Curtis around 1908. He wears ornate beadwork and feathers that mark his standing as a respected warrior. Historical records list a chiefchild in connection with Crow tribal affairs, for example, railroad damage claims in 1908 to 1923, confirming his prominence. Aside from such mentions, details of his life are scarce. Curtis's striking portrait of Chiefchild remains a poignant record of Crow identity and pride at the turn of the century. This portrait, dated around 1902, shows a Crow Apsaluke warrior. The Crow lived by the Bighorn Mountains in what is now Montana and Wyoming. As one of the tribes at the 1851 Fort Laramie Council, Crow chiefs secured a treaty recognizing their territory. The Crow were renowned horsemen, famed for feats like hanging beneath a galloping horse's belly to dodge fire. The young man's painted face and gear in the photo reflect the proud warrior tradition of his people. Chief Philip Howard was photographed in Boston around 1927 by Leslie Jones, possibly as part of a cultural exhibition. He wore a feathered war bonnet and elaborately embroidered attire. Although his exact tribal affiliation is unclear, his public appearance suggests he served as a cultural representative, teaching Americans about indigenous traditions. This portrait reflects the era's emphasis on documenting Native leaders, part of a broader photographic effort to document what photographers saw as the fading of Native American cultures. Howard's proud stance in the photo captures the dignity of Native people striving to be seen and heard in a time of marginalization. Shout At was a Lakota man photographed in 1899, likely by Hain Photo. Very few records mention him. His portrait is one of many taken during that era to document what photographers saw as the fading of Native cultures. In the image, Shout At appears in full traditional regalia, conveying the dignity and warrior spirit of his people. Though his personal story remains untold, he stands as a symbol of the Lakota's resilience during a period of great upheaval. Howard Frost served as an interpreter for the Omaha tribe in the late 19th century. He acted as a crucial translator and advisor between Omaha leaders and U.S. government officials. A Smithsonian caption notes a studio portrait of Frost labeled Omaha, Interpreter, taken at the 1898 Trans-Mississippi Exposition. Frost spoke fluent Omaha and English, helping his people in treaty discussions and legal matters. By preserving Omaha perspectives in talks with U.S. authorities, he became an important figure in protecting his tribe's interests amid rapid change. This young man belonged to the Wasco tribe. a Chinookan people along the Columbia River. In the 1855 Middle Oregon Treaty, at the Dalles, Wasco leaders relinquished most of their land and agreed to move onto a reservation. Today, the Wasco live on the Warm Springs Reservation alongside the Umatilla and Paiute, after the tribes formed a confederation in 1938. Though few specific details survive about individuals like him, his portrait preserves the Wasco name and heritage beyond the era of forced removal. This striking photograph is of a young indigenous man whose precise identity is unclear. Carl E. Moon took it around 1905 to 1907. According to records, he may be a Diné, a Navajo youth, possibly named Biyaj or Chebana. Other sources suggest he was Ezekiel Tobar of the Lipan Apache, wearing Navajo dress. Regardless of his exact background, the image carries deep meaning. It is a testament to the complex individual stories behind these portraits, each subject carrying his own cultural history. Lazy Boy was a Piegan Blackfeet man, photographed in 1914 by Harris and Ewing. That year, it was reported he became an honorary member of New York's Adventurers Club, a distinction shared only with Theodore Roosevelt. His image was also used in Roland Reed's See America First campaign, promoting Glacier National Park. Few personal details about Lazy Boy survive. His brief fame, via such honors and publicity, reflects the changing ways Native Americans were appearing in early 20th century American media and tourism, even when their own stories went largely unrecorded. Hash-Nash-Shut was a leader from the Wasco people. Originally part of the Umatilla Confederation, he married into the Warm Springs community. Prior to 1938, the Wasco and Warm Springs bands lived along the Columbia River, but under the 1855 Treaty of Middle Oregon, they ceded 10 million acres of land to the U.S. Hash-Nash-Shut is often depicted in traditional Wasco attire, symbolizing his tribe's heritage. His life reminds us of the complex history of the Umatilla and Warm Springs peoples as they adapted to reservation life while preserving their culture. Joseph Two Bulls was a member of the Dakota Sioux photographed around 1900. Specific details of his life are unrecorded. In his portrait, he wears traditional Dakota attire, symbolizing his tribal identity and pride. Notably, the word Dakota, or Lakota, means friend or ally in the Sioux language, reflecting the values his people held. His calm dignity in the image speaks to the resilience of the Dakota, even when tribal life was under great strain. He stands as a representative of many Sioux whose personal histories went untold, but whose spirit endured. Chief Mountain was a chief of the Blackfeet Pikunni Band, photographed in 1898. His Blackfeet name literally refers to Chief Mountain, a sacred peak in Montana. The Smithsonian records identify him as Mountain Chief, 1848 to 1942, of the Piegan Band, captured at the 1898 Omaha Indian Congress. Little else is known about his personal life. By appearing in these historic records, Chief Mountain represents the strength and continuity of Blackfeet tradition amid the upheavals of reservation life. little bird was a Southern Arapaho delegate photographed at the 1898 Omaha Indian Congress. He appears in Reinhardt's collection of tribal delegates. Though little written history of Little Bird survives, his portrait marks him as a respected elder. As an Arapaho representative, he stood for his people's dignity and traditions. The image of Little Bird serves to preserve Arapaho identity at a time when native nations faced great pressure to assimilate and their lands were being taken. Chief Strikes with Nose was an Oglala Lakota leader active in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. He is best remembered through a 1899 portrait by photographer Herman Hine, taken during the Indian Congress at the 1898 Omaha World's Fair. Though not as widely known as Red Cloud or Crazy Horse, he represented his people during a time of transition. He lived under the Fort Laramie Treaty of 1868, which had redrawn Sioux territory, and later resided at Pine Ridge Reservation, where he continued to embody the dignity and leadership of his nation. Thanks for watching till the end. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. It really motivates me to keep creating more content.